Discreetly luxurious, BMW's revised 5th generation 7 Series certainly isn't the obvious choice in the luxury saloon sector, but that doesn't mean it isn't a very good one. The most recent improvements have made it smarter, more luxurious and more economic, matching the standards set by Mercedes S-Class and Audi A8 rivals and setting a few of its own.
If there's one thing that you learn once successful in business, it's that the obvious choice isn't always the best one. That's an observation especially true when it comes to the acquisition of the kind of car necessary to underline your commercial success, a fully-fledged, boardroom-sized luxury saloon. BMW used to dominate this market with its 7 Series, but in recent decades, high-flying executives have tended to prefer this Munich maker's two closest rivals in this sector, the Mercedes S-Class and the Audi A8. Hence the importance of this 5th generation 7 Series, now improved in the form that we're going to look at here, with higher technology, smarter looks and a more efficient engine range that includes hybrid power for the very first time. This Mark V 7 Series was first launched here in 2009, but things have changed a great deal since then in the full-sized luxury saloon sector, with the introduction of new generation versions of virtually all its most obvious rivals. To keep up, BMW launched this substantially revised version in the early autumn of 2012, with a technological recipe quite good enough to match anything that opposing brands could offer. Pretty much the same technology, in fact, used by the Rolls-Royce Ghost that shares many of the underpinnings of this car. A Rolls-Royce for the real world then? Is that really what we're looking at here? Or is this simply BMW playing catch-up in the luxury saloon segment? Let's find out. Just how involving should a car like this really be to drive? It's a subject fiercely debated, not least within BMW, whose engineers erred on the side of limousine comfort with the previous version of this model, in the process relinquishing the ultimate driving machine honours to rival cars from Jaguar and from Audi. Now, the 5th generation 7 is much more driver orientated, which does mean also that some rivals marginally shade it when it comes to ride and refinement. But the balance BMW has chosen still shouldn't upset those CEOs who prefer to stay in the back and read the FT. Should the current economic climate force them to sack the chauffeur, however, there are plenty of compensations to be had from a seat here up front, even on the kind of twisty country roads where cars like this are usually least at home. Now, some of the credit for this is down to some well-judged chassis tweaks visited upon this improved 5th generation model, and some of it is down to the drive performance control system, which enables you to vary the response of the car based on 5 different modes: Comfort, Comfort Plus, Sport, Sport Plus and Eco Pro. Depending on your choice of mode from the button down here, you'll get a change in steering response, the characteristics of the power steering, engine and throttle response, the thresholds of the stability control system, and the shift points of the automatic gearbox. If you specify the optional integral active steering system for more accurate inputs at the helm, or the optional variable damper control setup, which enables you to match the suspension feel to the mood you're in and the road that you're on, then drive performance control will also tweak those as well. There's also a dynamic stability control system that can be activated by the driver to make it easier in traction mode to pull away on loose surfaces or on snow. In these circumstances, as well as in Sport Plus on the drive performance control system, the stability control thresholds are raised and the DTC dynamic traction control setup is activated. Which brings me on to engines, all of which have in this revised model been mated to a new 8-speed automatic gearbox and have been fine-tuned to a greater or lesser extent to keep up with the competition. If, like 80% of 7 Series buyers, you opt for the straight 6 730D diesel variant, then you'll find that power has increased from 245 to 258 brake horsepower, and that torque is up from 540 to 560 Newton meters, pulling power that outstrips that of the equivalent 320 brake horsepower twin turbo 740i petrol model, and is nearly as much as you'll get in the also pokier 449 brake horsepower V8 equipped 750i petrol variant. At the top of the range, there's also a minority interest 6-litre 12-cylinder twin-turbo petrol 760 Li model, which uses essentially the same engine that you'll find in a Rolls-Royce Ghost to waft you from rest to 62 miles an hour in just 4.6 seconds. But as I said, nearly all 7 Series customers choose the diesel option, not least because it delivers superb performance along with the expected efficiency. Even the 730D manages to get from rest to 62 miles an hour in just 6.1 seconds, a figure that you can improve in the 313 brake horsepower 740D model to just 5.5 seconds. All 7 Series models are limited to 155 miles an hour flat out. In this case, I'm driving the model most recently introduced to the 7 Series lineup, the petrol-electric Active Hybrid 7. Here you essentially have the 320 brake horsepower twin power 3-litre straight 6 from the 740i petrol model, mated to a synchronous electric motor and a high performance lithium ion battery to create a combined output of 354 brake horsepower and a torque delivery of 500 Newton meters, good enough to get you from rest to 62 miles an hour in just 5.7 seconds. Of course, a 7 Series diesel can go just as quickly, but one of those can't cruise around town silently for over 2 miles on pure electric power, as this model can. To be honest, I've managed nothing like that 2-mile range in my time with this car, as you have to be incredibly careful with the throttle pedal if the petrol engine is not to thrum almost imperceptibly into life. Show it a hill and the engine will also cut in, and unlike some hybrid cars, there's no EV button that will force this model into electric only mode until the batteries deplete. A rival Lexus LS600H would give you that, but it wouldn't rival this Active Hybrid 7 as a driver's machine. Ultimately, if you want hybrid power in this segment and you enjoy yourself at the wheel, then this is where you have to come. There's nothing particularly groundbreaking about the way this 7 Series looks. At its original 2009 launch, the aesthetics were generally felt to be conservatively similar to those of the previous generation model, and not much has changed in this revised version. In fact, you really have to know your BMWs to tell it apart at all from the original Mark V model. But then the Munich maker reckons that it's all in the detail. The 8mm drop in overall height, the revised front kidney grille with a larger aperture boasting 9 rather than 13 slats, the 3-sectioned lower air intake with its chromed strips, and its optional adaptive LED headlights. Moving to the back, there's a deeper shade of red for the rear light units and extra chrome to set it all off. All done, of course, in the best possible taste. And inside the leather-lined cabin, well, as you'd expect for this kind of money, everything is just beautifully built and has a lovely feel in operation. The only exception being this steering wheel that, though perfectly functional, feels a bit 3 Series. Through it, you glimpse either a conventional set of instruments, as here, or optionally, one of those black panel technology style screens, basically the facsimile of a set of instruments with colour and display variable dependent upon your selection between the various drive performance control modes. The seats have been redesigned, but even so, it's even nicer if you can find a couple of thousand extra for multi-adjustable comfort chairs that I guarantee are even better than those in your front room. And boot space? Well, luggage resides in a beautifully carpeted compartment, but unfortunately the battery pack this active hybrid 7 model has to lug about reduces the size of that cargo area from the 500 litres you get in a standard 7 Series model to just 360 litres. Still, at least the batteries don't impinge upon rear seat accommodation. Here the experience on offer depends largely between your choice between the standard body shape and the long wheelbase version that I have here that offers an extra 14 centimetres of interior legroom for a presidentially sized space that enables you to stretch out and really enjoy the optional in-car entertainment system. Most 7 Series models sold in the UK are diesel variants priced just below or just above £60,000 depending on the variant you select, 730D or 740D. In rough terms that pitches this car a couple of thousand above equivalent versions of the Audi A8 and Jaguar XJ and a couple of thousand below equivalent versions of the Mercedes S-Class. For BMW 7 Series customers there's a premium of around £3,000 for those wanting the long wheelbase version. For the tiny minority of customers for this car that want straight 6 or V8 conventional petrol power, prices range mainly in the £60,000 to £75,000 bracket, though there's a big jump from there if you're a high flyer considering the 760 Li V12 flagship, priced at just over the £100,000 mark. The active hybrid 7 model on test here sits in the £66,000 to £70,000 bracket, depending on your choice between standard or long wheelbase body styles. It certainly looks decent value over the £100,000 you'll need to get yourself into a Lexus LS600H. Order this BMW hybrid with the standard body shape and you're looking at much the same kind of money that you'd need to find for the kind of 740D diesel variant that would match this hybrid model's performance figures. But the active hybrid 7's asking price represents a £5,000 premium over the standard 740i model that donates its 320 brake horsepower straight 6 petrol engine to this eco-minded package. As for standard equipment, all models get leather upholstery, smart alloy wheels, a 4-zone air conditioning system and the latest iDrive control setup with programmable buttons for easier access to regularly used functions. Now from then on, it's a case of tailoring your car as you would a bespoke tailored suit with an even wider range of BMW connected drive features, not least the professional navigation system. Depending on spec, you might also want your car to park itself, help you see in the dark, dip its own headlamps at night, show you the road signs on the dash as you pass them, and offer you a cruise control setup that automatically speeds you up and slows you down in tune with the surrounding traffic. I also particularly like the clever surround view camera system. Safety-wise, all the usual airbags and electronic assistance features are on offer, including anti-whiplash head restraints and the Dynamic Stability Control Plus system. Bundled up in this package are innovations such as hill start assist, brake drying and pre-tensioning, soft stop and brake fade compensation. Further standard equipment now runs to the Dynamic Safety with Attention Assistance system. If an accident situation is imminent, this will automatically pre-tension seatbelts, close windows and sunroof and position the driver's seat in the optimum safety position. It'll also brake the car after any impact to try and ensure that you don't hit anything else. Even CEOs are concerned about running costs these days, so it's a major feather in BMW's cap that this 7 Series is the most efficient car of its class to run, at least in 730D diesel form anyway. Now, as usual with the Munich brand, this is down to their efficient dynamics technologies, with things like major body panels being fashioned from light aluminium and brake energy regeneration, recycling energy that would otherwise be lost under braking or in engine overrun. Now, the result of all this is genuinely impressive when it comes to the 730D, which manages 50.4 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 148 grams per kilometre of CO2. Those are the kind of figures you'd more readily associate with a compact executive saloon. Even the pokier 740D diesel variant returns pretty much the same kinds of figures. Of course, the picture isn't quite as rosy with the petrol-powered models, but even so, the returns are better than you might be expecting. A 740i manages 35.8 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 184 grams per kilometre of CO2, the kind of figures that you'd have got from a 730D when this Mark V 7 Series was first announced in 2009. For a 750i, the return is 32.8 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 199 grams per kilometre of CO2. But from there, the returns take quite a drop if you go for the V12 petrol-powered 760Li that manages just 21.4 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 314 grams per kilometre of CO2. Ouch! Insurance groupings for diesel variants range between 45 and 48, and for conventional petrol-powered models they range between 46 and 50. This active hybrid 7 model returns 41.5 miles to the gallon on the combined cycle and 158 grams per kilometre of CO2. So it's about 8 miles to the gallon and 11 grams per kilometre of CO2 off a comparable 740D diesel variant. But bear in mind you'll be running on cheaper green pump fuel. Insurance is groups 47 to 48, and all 7 Series models get free 5 years or 60,000 miles of servicing. If you want a car that showcases the current state of the automotive art, then this 7 Series is as good a place to start as any. Whether you prioritise high-tech engineering, clever gadgetry or sharp running costs in your luxury saloon, this BMW operates from an agenda that will certainly impress. Conservatively styled, it may be. Conservative in outlook, it certainly isn't. But then it couldn't afford to be in the face of rivals as good as the Mercedes S-Class, the Audi A8, the Jaguar XJ and the Lexus LS. At first glance, any one of these luxury segment rivals might seem to be a more obvious choice than this 7. But to ignore this BMW and overlook its Rolls-Royce inspired driving experience would be to miss out on quite a treat and quite a car.